Hey everyone, it's Jen Vax, and I thought I'd pop in to Facebook to address a question that's been happening or I saw out in the group, into I think the larger group, the Your Color Style group. And it's about how to use your pages of your color fan and to really understand if a color is too warm or too cool for you. So this information is going to be really good for you if you already know what your undertones are, but if not, it's still going to give you some good tips on how to look at color a little bit differently. And if you have a color fan, how you can use that as a tool to help you a little bit. Because here's the reality. You have a color fan, hopefully from Your Color Style, to help you identify the colors that are going to flatter you when you go shopping or when you're editing your closet. But the reality is that there are so many nuances to color and so many different types of one color that you're not always going to get an exact match. You're just not. It sometimes, and it's like winning the lottery, right? You're like, oh, it's a perfect match. But the reality is it's not going to be a perfect match. The color that you're comparing it to might be a little bit darker, a little bit lighter, a little bit warmer or cooler. And so my rule of thumb is this. If you put the color up against, I'm wearing a red, I'm on purpose, I'm wearing a red sweater. And let me see if I can find the red in this fan. This is an older fan, but hold on. Where's my, okay, well, that's a bad example. You would think I thought I had the clear red. Well, here we go. So here's a light red. Okay, so here's a light red. And I could go to the store or my closet and I could hold this up to me. Now, what I'm looking for is this color dramatically too dark or too light? Is it kind of about the same? Does this article clothing suddenly look too blue or too yellow? And I'll talk more about that in a minute. Or is it just kind of like, well, it doesn't look dramatically that different from the page. It's just not an exact match. What we're looking for is good enough. Now, in my fan, I actually have a truer red than this. And so I clearly did not prepare properly for this video because there would have been a little bit of a better match there for you. But even so, you're looking for good enough. Good enough meaning that the color is not too much lighter or too dark, okay? Because that's really important. If the color is just entirely too dark based on your color palette, you might want to, or if it's too light, same thing, based on the range of colors that you already have. But you're looking for good enough. So one of the things to think about is if you are someone that's in the bright category, meaning that you wear clear chroma colors best, not necessarily the brightest, but colors that aren't grayed or muted, okay? So if that's the case and you've got your fan here and you put a color that you think is the right match and you hold it up to the article of clothing, if the color starts to read a little gray, then it's a muted color and it may not be your best choice if you are someone that wears clear chroma colors, someone that's bright. Okay, so you're not looking necessarily for how bright a color is, how saturated it is. What you're looking for does it appear gray? And the best way to know that is to have your color fan because this is your point of reference. Okay, sometimes it's really hard to tell if a color is right for you by just looking at it. Not everyone has that trained eye. Lighting in stores, lighting in your closet are going to mislead you. So you're always going to want that point of reference, all right? The other thing that you can do is, well, let me back up. Here's how you know if a color is going to be warm or cool, or too warm or too cool for you. Okay, now I cover some of this stuff in my color harmony course that has a lot of visuals. So I don't have a lot of visuals, but I still think that you'll be able to understand the concept. When we're talking about colors that are in harmony with you, colors that are going to flatter you, you're looking for colors that, well, are in harmony with you. And what does that mean? Well, in art, when you're talking about a harmonious color palette, it means that a color palette is sharing one color. You've mixed a color into all the colors in your palette. And so when you use those colors now in your painting, your colors are harmonious. Everything kind of goes together because they all share one color. Well, this is kind of true for undertones. For someone who has warm undertones, regardless if it's obvious or not, if you know you have warm undertones, then as a general rule of thumb, colors that share yellow are going to be harmonious with you. So that means from the warm tomato reds, actually I can even use my fan for this to kind of illustrate, warm tomato reds, and you can see that when you hold it up to this red here, look how orange it looks. It's because it has yellow added to it, okay? This would probably be a better red for me than this red. I feel like this is kind of a balanced red, but we'll talk about that in a second. So from your tomato reds, that's red with yellow, all the way through to your golden yellows, through your greens, it still has yellow in it, to your grassy greens, your lime greens, still has yellow, all the way into your teals, your turquoises, your green blues, still all have yellow in it, even if it's just a touch, all the way through until you get to cyan, which becomes a pure color and no yellow in it. And that doesn't mean you can't wear it. I'm giving you a general rule of thumb of how do you know if a color is warm? Well, if a color is warm, if it has yellow added to it. And I just described it to you, okay? Which means that anything from red to your magentas, to your blues, your purples, blue, purple, all those are not warm colors. They are colors that will likely have some blue in it going in the opposite direction. I'm doing this because in my head I see a color wheel. I don't have a color wheel in front of me right now to explain that to you. But so colors that have blue in them are going to be most harmonious with people with cool undertones because you have a little bit of a blue current underneath, even if it's not obvious. So in the same respect, you've got your magentas, which is a very blue-based pink, all the way to your purples, still has blue in it, to blue, still has blue in it, all the way to green, still has blue in it, all the way to your lime greens because it still has blue in it. Now, we'll do all those colors I just mentioned for cool or for warm. Are they all going to be amazing on you? Maybe not. But as a general rule of thumb, that's how you know if a color is likely going to be harmonious with you if it shares a color with you. If you have cool undertones, you share a blue. If you have warm undertones, you share a yellow. That doesn't mean exclusively you can't wear anything else. These are just general rules of thumb. Now, with that in mind, okay, with that in mind, that is how you will also understand if a color might be too cool or too warm for you. So, for example, I have two articles of clothing here. One is an old red t-shirt that I use now just for, I put on to paint because I do a lot of art. And it's not a flattering color on me. If I hold this red up to the red that I'm wearing, do you see that it looks almost a little blue? Can you see that on the video? It makes this sweater look warmer and this looks a little blue. This is not the right red for me. It is a cool red. It has a touch of blue in it. It's not for me. I don't even, it's so old and it's giant. It's just what I wear now for painting. It's got paint all over it. I have some pajamas that I love and they're pajamas, so who cares? But if I hold these, aren't they cute, by the way? They got a little plaid, they have a little sparkly thread. It was a gift from my husband and they are super cute. But if you hold these up to this red, again, notice how warm this red looks and notice how blue these pinks are. It's probably because these are not this is not the right pink and red for me, but they're super cute. I'm gonna wear them because they're pajamas, but I wouldn't wear them out in public, okay? Everything is relative to something else. This is the same for when we're talking about grays. This is a huge one. This is a huge topic, but it's the same thing. If you have your neutral color fans, okay, this is a tool for you. It has all of the neutrals. So if you have a cool neutral fan, you have all of the cool neutrals, and if you have and universal ones, and if you have warm, then you have all the warm ones and then universal. But the ones that you're going to be wondering about are going to be gray, whites, creams, that kind of a thing. So right now I'm holding the cool one. And if I were to be shopping and I wanted to know if a certain gray was a cool gray for me, not a warm gray. So I have this cool gray page here, and I'm searching my desk right now for a good example of a gray. I don't think even, I mean, yes, I'm in my art studio. You think I'd have a good example of gray. Maybe, one sec. Okay, forgive me the impromptu. This is a page of a limited color palette for one of my pieces of art. But down here, I mixed 2 warm grays. I mixed it, we're not gonna get into that. But if I'm someone with cool undertones and I'm shopping with this gray page and I hold it up and I see this gray in the store, here's the thing. Seeing gray on its own without anything next to it makes it really challenging to know if it's the right gray, because there's lights on it, and I've made the mistake many, many times. Okay, so if I were to see this gray in the store, just this gray here, and you don't have any point of reference, I might go, "Ooh, I like that gray." And then if I put this gray up against it, notice how immediately it looks more yellow, more green next to this, and this looks almost more blue in comparison. Okay, that means that this gray would be too warm for me if I had cool undertones, and especially when this starts to look gray. And the reverse is true. If I have, let me see if I can find a warm gray to explain. Well, you're gonna get it, but I was just hoping I had a gray for you to, I do. Oh my gosh, I do. Hold on, I'm getting there. Okay, so this one here is a warm medium gray. It actually looks a little green in this video, in this lighting, but nevertheless, it's a warm gray. What makes it warm is that instead of it being just black with white added, which is a very neutral gray, okay, which you can use also, and the more I explain this, hopefully the more it'll make sense. But this is my gray, I'm looking for a warm gray, and I see this gray in the store. I'm like, "Ooh, I like that." But if I hold up this to this sweater, we'll say, look at how blue the sweater looks suddenly. I know that that's not the gray for me. I don't want gray with blue in it. It's gonna bring out the blue here. One of the things that's really important about knowing if a color is too warm or too cool for you is really how it interacts with your skin and your face. So someone who has cool undertones will react, their skin and their face will react best with colors that have blue in them. It's just, it will. It'll bring out the natural tones in their skin. Everything is harmonious. Nothing really stands out where you're looking tired or sick or anything like that, okay? And it might be too bright for you or something like that, but that's a different conversation. We're talking about temperature and how to use your fan in a way that's gonna be right for you. If you have cool undertones and you put on something that's too warm for you, it's gonna bring out the yellow in your skin. Everybody has some yellow in their skin. It's gonna bring out the yellow in your skin. It's gonna start making you look sallow, make you a little flat, make you look a little unwell, because those yellows are not what's dominant. That's not what really is part of your makeup, if you will. And it's not going to be very flattering. Same is true for someone with warm undertones. You wear a color that has yellow in it, it's gonna bring out those tones in you, very harmonious. If you're wearing something with blue in it, it's gonna start to bring out the lines, the colors under your eyes in a way that's gonna make you look a little tired. And so that's the reason why it's important to know if a color is warm or cool. All right, so if you had a neutral gray, there is a neutral gray in your color fans. I'm looking to see if I have one here. I may not, just a ready grab. But the same is true. A neutral gray is a great page to take with you when you go shopping because it's neutral. It is black with white added. It's not cool, it's not warm. Now, don't get me wrong, gray in general reads cool, which is why grays look really, really great on someone that has cool undertones, because it reads cool. But there is technically no blue in a true gray, at least the gray that's printed. So if you were to hold up that gray, I'm looking as I'm talking to you to see if I can find a neutral gray, but I don't think I have one. If you were to hold that gray up to a gray in the store, let's say I found this gray here. If you were to hold a neutral gray up to it, the neutral gray will start to make this look either blue or yellow or green. Sometimes a warm gray can convey slightly green, even though it doesn't look green. It can convey a little yellow. Yellow with black actually makes green, which is why a warm gray can actually look green when compared to something else that's not cool, or that is more cool. So if you were to put a neutral gray up against this would look more blue. It doesn't right now, right? In the lighting, it looks like it's a nice medium to charcoaly gray, and it actually has blue in it. And you wouldn't know that until you hold up another gray to it, and you would start to see the blues in it. And that's how you would know whether it's for you or not. If it has blue and you have cool undertones, you're like, win. And if it comes out yellow or green, then it's great for you if you have warm undertones. I have a charcoal gray sweater that has cream threads in it. If you hold it up next to like a card like this card looks very blue next to that sweater, okay? And it looks very yellow up next to neutral gray. So these are all in the same family. These are all cool grays in front of me. These have the cool neutrals in front of me. I hope that this is helpful. So this is true for, like, you don't need to worry about if a green, for example, is too cool or too warm for you, because green is made up of yellow and blue. So green is great for just about everyone. If it doesn't feel right on you, it may be because it's too bright or too muted or too dark or too light, or you have olive skin tone and greens just don't make you feel very good. And that's a very common thing too. But that's how you use your fan. You use your fan to find matches, but you also use your color fan for comparison. And if you were to put, and you don't even have to worry about if a color is too warm or too cool until you kind of get to the outer edges. Is this red too cool or too warm for me? Or is this blue too cool or too warm for me? Meaning that a warm blue would be more like these turquoises, which, by the way, won't be too warm or too cool for you because they look good on everyone. What I'm referring to is that you put this royal blue up against another blue, and the blue starts to look purple. That's a blue that would be too cool for me, but might be perfect for someone with cool undertones. And the same would be true for red, like I just shared with you. You put this red up, and the red starts to look blue. Not good for me, but great for someone with cool undertones. And the reverse is true also. If I have cool undertones and I really want to wear a, if I have cool undertones and I want to wear a cool red, has a little blue in it. If I was like, have my eye on a sweater, and then I realized once I put my cool red up against the sweater, I might realize that it looks almost orange next to it. Even though this is actually red, which is a touch of yellow, but look how orange it looks next to this cool red. Then I might go, oh, that red's too warm for me. I'm not gonna wear that anymore, okay? So that's kind of how you do it. If you're interested in that, you wanna see some more examples and a little bit more about harmony and that kind of stuff, the color harmony course, it's inexpensive and it's a really good investment if you're trying to learn, really understand the colors that flatter you versus the ones that don't. And then, and then your fan is your guideline. It's never going to be, it's rarely going to be an exact match. So use it as a guideline, a good enough indicator. Look to see if it's too dark or too light or right there in the middle, good enough. And then start to look at, is it looking cool? Is it looking blue? Is it looking yellow? Or is it just right there in that same range? And you should know. It's going to take some practice, but again, you don't need to worry about a color being too warm or too cool unless you're looking at grays, like a neutrals, or you're looking at red or blue. Otherwise, everything in there is shared. And if it has yellow, well, you would know, because once you get to yellow, anything between yellow and red is going to have yellow. So you're going to have golden yellows and oranges and that kind of stuff. And I would hope that you would know that has yellow. So if you have cool undertones, you might want to stay away. All right. I think that's it. So I'm going to end this live. It will live in the groups for you guys to refer to. And if you have questions or comments, just please put them in there so that I can respond to them. If you are commenting right now, the UI of Facebook Live is confusing and I'm not seeing them at the moment. So I'm sorry about that. But so thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you another time. Bye for now.